Hi, it's Benny Perez, the director of the musical Pasaje, playing at the Sierra Madre Playhouse. If you want to learn more, listen in on this conversation.
So my first question is, when did you first hear about this new musical, and why did you have to be part of this world premiere production?
So, about 2 years ago, I directed my fourth production of In the Heights. I have a very long history with the show In the Heights that Lin-Manuel Miranda composed in 2008, was on Broadway for 3 years, and subsequently toured. In 2011, I did the national tour of In the Heights. I played the father, Kevin Rosario, and in 2015, I was asked to direct the show for the very first time. I found that I loved directing. And so in 2015, 2017, 2018, and 2022, I directed really successful sold out productions regionally here in Southern California of the musical In the Heights. And a friend of mine, well, he wasn't a friend at the time, he was sitting in the audience, saw my performance in the show because I also played the father as well as directed it, and he thought I like this person's direction. He really understands the dynamic of the Latino community, how to shape these characters into something that's lovable and interesting and educational for the audience. I say he stalked me. He didn't stalk me, but he contacted me. And his name is Chip Healy. He was a former educator in South El Monte at South El Monte High. And many years ago, he challenged his students is to write a piece that was inspired by In the Heights. They saw it when it was here in town, and you can write a show about your community of South El Monte. It's mostly Mexican with some Salvadorian students as well from El Salvador, immigrants and their families. And so he challenged them to write, and so they were inspired to write this thing. And over the years, it's developed and developed and developed. He came to me with this piece and he said, my students wrote this play, and it's sort of in the same vein of In the Heights, but it's about Mexican Salvadorians in South El Monte. And he said, I think it has a great future to be a wonderful expression of Latino life in the United States. I read it and I thought, wow, this has really great bones. The whole thing has really great bones. It is a piece that is in development. Uh, we we did a reading April in South El Monte and got a lot of feedback. And so he asked me to, when eventually we get a theater to produce this, for me to direct it. He would like, because he admired my directing of In the Heights back in 2022 at the La Mirada Theater, that production. So I said, yeah, I mean, it's a wonderful piece of theater and it's got wonderful characters. One of the things that I realize as a Mexican American creative artist in living in the Los Angeles area is our film and TV world. They like to. It feels comfortable to represent the Latino community in stereotypes, and whether it's the gangbanger or the spicy maid or the gardener or whatever you can look to as a sort of a Hollywood stereotype. The beauty about In the Heights and now with Pasaje, this musical that I am currently directing at the Sierra Madre Playhouse, is there's not an emphasis on gangs and drugs and guns and pregnancy and prison, the sort of the unsavory aspects that have been exploited in Latinx projects. I'm very proud that this piece doesn't really focus on that. It's about a young biracial man who's grown up in a neighborhood that has no Latin influence. He somehow makes his way down to South El Monte here and rediscovers his what we'd say in Spanish Latinidad, like his culture that he never knew he had, and he meets some people along the way that help change his mind, change his life, and give him a greater perspective. I am so proud that it has that aspect to it because I think in our world, we're so saturated with so many influences and things. A lot of people, whether they are white, Latinx, Black, Asian, Native American, Armenian, Indian, Filipino, whatever you are, you should know where you come from. The people that helped you get here, your ancestors who are looking down upon you and wanting you to do better than they did. It's a universal thing in the United States. We are all immigrants. We are all from, well, except the Native Americans, they're from here, but we are all from somewhere else, and it's important to. There's a line in the show. You can't know where you're going unless you know where you've been. It's a wonderful um, line of dialogue, and I think it speaks to anybody who wants to know more about their ancestry, wants to know more about um, uh, it helps inform their future. But every single culture has food and music and clothing and traditions that in our crazy fast-paced world we should continue to honor and represent and recognize and appreciate. So that's one of the beautiful things about Pasaje is that it's asking the audience, whatever race they are, whatever culture that they are connected to be cognizant of that, and honor your ancestors and move it forward because you are a better person when you you understand uh, your ancestors and the culture that you have been born into on Earth.
I think you answered this, but why is this new musical so relevant today for audiences around this country, not just in Southern California, to hear and see and listen to this music?
It's important because representation of Latinx communities has been somewhat stereotyped, like I said before, but also quite choppy. I've said my whole life that when Jennifer Lopez drops a movie or Ricky Martin has a tour or John Leguizamo does a theater show, there's a big push towards and it's Hispanic Heritage Month and you know but it's very piecemeal. What people don't realize is that the Latinx community in the United States is a huge rainbow of people. They are either Mexican American, they are Central American, they are South American, they are Caribbean, the Puerto Rican, Dominican, Cubans. There's so many colors and flavors to our Latinx diaspora, but we're all kind of lumped together in this sort of this sort of brown envelope. And I think it's really important for the people in the United States to understand we're just humans. We're just citizens of the United States. And we want to work and we want to play and we want to love and we want to express ourselves and our culture for other people to enjoy, just the way that any other culture has been able to do that. Black culture or Italian culture or Puerto Rican culture, LGBTQ culture. We're all aiming for an equal amount of expression in the arts and in the media. So I think the more people know about other cultures, the more empathy and compassion they will have towards them. And there's a lot of fear stoked in the United States' history from many, many cultures, immigrants or certain um, communities that have had prejudices and bigotry thrown at them. And I think when you create a piece of art that shows how human we all are, we're all facing the same things. We're all just trying to be the best that we can be in this multicolored, multicultural United States. We become more enlightened ourselves about our neighbors, about our communities. Everyone in this country knows someone of Latin descent. Everybody, whether you're on the East Coast, whether you're on the West Coast, your friends, your family, your coworkers, all, and we all have something to offer each other, and we all have something to enlighten each other with. So I think I would encourage anyone who's a creative and who feels underrepresented to write something. You have a friend who's a writer, you have a friend who's a composer, write a musical, write a play, write a one-person show. Let your voice be heard so that we can more understand you and have compassion and empathy for those that we don't understand. You know, we're sort of all in this together, and why wouldn't, you know, it's funny. I went to Alabama with In the Heights once, and this woman in a rather prejudiced way, interviewed me and said, "Well, why would somebody from Alabama want to see a show about singing, dancing Latinos in New York City, which is in the Heights?" You know, putting it in very small terms. And I said, "Well, I think because it's good to learn about other cultures. It's good to know what other people are experiencing, so that you're more enlightened." I said, "Well, let me put it this way: I'm not Jewish, but I love Fiddler on the Roof. I'm not Black, but I love Dreamgirls. I think it's such a wonderful slice of specific cultures that I find connections. I find um, things that I can relate to and I can understand, and that are just so familiar to me. I have friends like that. I have relatives like that. I have experiences like that. So I would just encourage anybody who's a creative to figure out what it is you want to say about your past, about your present, and what your future would like to be.
Tell me about the creatives. Tell me about the writer. Tell me about the lyricist. And most important, tell me about your great cast.
Our creative team consists of myself, Benny Perez, the director, Asdru Sierra, who is one of the founders of the well-known Latinx group Ozo Motley. They kind of write Latin world music. Greg Perez, who is an amazing musician, is our musical director. He has a long history in the music world, as well as being a musical director for Dancing with the Stars for many years. Our choreographer, Tanya Pasek, she is of Salvadorian descent, which is so exciting because our show takes place in the community of South El Monte, which is Mexican and Salvadorian. So she brings a wonderful sense of authenticity to her choreography. Um, we have a wonderful designer, Tiffany Anguiano, who is one of the students who helped develop Pasaje back at South El Monte High with my friend Chip Healy. So there's a lot of really amazing uh, uh, pieces to this puzzle that are putting this show together at the Sierra Madre Playhouse. And thanks so much to Matt Cook, the artistic director, and Barry Tsang, who is our company manager. They're keeping they're keeping the boat afloat, and we're rehearsing in the theater and getting ready for Tech Week next week. They're it's a crack team. We're doing a great thing, and we're excited to show the show. We're excited to promote and perform the show for Sierra Madre audiences who may not experience something like this usually. It's a brand new show that's in development, but it's also something that we're hoping will go further to a larger regional theater, to even Broadway. You know, there's not a lot of Latin representation on Broadway, so we're hoping that some very wealthy producer with tons of cash will come see the show and throw money at us and say, "Here, take it to Broadway." You know, that's everyone's dream when they're creating something, to for it to go to the next level and the next level and the next level and become a national representation of our very important and wonderful community here in Southern California.
Can you talk more about the actors and have them be the first version of these characters for this musical.
Absolutely. It's very exciting. These characters only existed on the page for a very long time. And we had auditions and we found these wonderful actors from the Southern California area. Some of them are locals, some of them have moved here, like so many do. We have a wonderful actor named Seth Keller. He's playing Andy, our protagonist, who grew up in Flagstaff, Arizona, and makes his way down to South El Monte and starts to rediscover his culture. He is he's such a dynamo. I mean, he plays the guitar, he plays the piano, he sings, he acts. He's just I'm so impressed with his abilities. And when he came into audition, I thought that's our Andy. I loved his energy and his enthusiasm for the show and for the role. Ixchel, which is spelled Ixchel, it's an indigenous name, is originally from Guatemala in Central America. And Ixchel Valiente, 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 Michelle Valiente. And she is playing Marcelina, the other principal role, a Salvadorian girl who dreams of dancing on Broadway. But when the show is set in 2011, her dreams aren't, that easily attained. And her character that she's playing is very guarded, came from a very, sort of painful past, and she's got a lot of obstacles herself to recover from. She and Andy are sort of on this journey together. The characters of Marcelina and Andy are on this journey together, and Seth and Ixchel are beautifully embodying these characters that no one's ever seen truly embodied on the stage. We have a wonderful gentleman, Joshua Duron, Duron, who's playing Don Miguel. He's sort of the Obi-Wan Kenobi of the neighborhood. He's got a lot of hidden knowledge, but he's there to help along with their journey. We have a wonderful actress named Sandra Dar who's playing Andy's mother, Angela. She has her own secrets and her own conflicts within herself that are explored in the show. She's a wonderful actress. I'm so proud of the work that she's doing as well. Um, we have two people that I can express as they are they are the hustlers in the show. Hustler one and Hustler two. Hustler uno and dos. Hustler one is played by Carol Avila, and Hustler two is played by Daniel Moises. And they are kind of our. I've told them, you guys are like the narrators of this thing. You're kind of the shape shifting storytellers. They start the show in a kind of an irreverent fashion. They do commentary on things. They jump in and out of musical numbers. They they are the wise and witty, company players that frame this entire story. They, I just, I'm so happy that these kinds of characters were written into the show. They're kind of in the vein of Che in Evita, or the leading player in Pippin, or El Pachuco in Zoot Suit, that have, like, I call them like my Latinx superheroes, because they kind of have magical powers to I'll start a show with a snap of a finger. I will, stop a number with a flip of my hand. They're really extraordinary performers and wonderful um, aspects to the show that I think are little unexpected, but I like what they're doing. And in addition to that, we have a wonderful ensemble of characters that populate South El Monte. Our theater at Sierra Madre is only 31 feet wide, so I wish we could do a larger neighborhood. But our wonderful set designer Tiffany has designed this beautiful set that represents, in a smaller fashion, the city of El Monte and how the denizens get around the neighborhood and the community sort of exists in there. We're hoping in the future, a larger stage, a bigger set, more actors. But for now, in this first production, this sort of development stage, we're just working in the beauty and the intimacy of the Sierra Madre Playhouse.
What are the underlying messages in the new musical?
It's a story of a young biracial person's journey to self discovery and uncovering family secrets. It kind of sums up the show. But I also think that because there are so many biracial people in the United States now, whether they be Black and Latin or white and Asian, or like our vice president who's Indian and Black, there's the notion of being biracial is something that the entire world has kind of dealt with. I think what I said before, discovering your past, your ancestors, appreciating their sacrifices and contributions to your life helps inform who you are as a human, as a person, and helps you move forward in your life, to a bright future. When you don't know who you are, there's a lot of strange and negative temptations in this world that you can be coerced by. And I think when you know who you are and you know where you come from and you know where you're going, well, what could any adult wish more for a young person than to be focused and to know all those things so that you don't get tempted by, the negative things in the world. So I think the message I want people to take away is that our Latin culture is a vibrant and vital force in the United States, not what you think we are, they are. And like I said, researching your past, no matter what culture you come from, it's very important. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. You should be able to share that with all your friends and family. There should be absolutely no shame in your language or your food or your clothing or your music. This is all your history, the tragedies and the triumphs. There's something really, really beautiful about this show. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's got a message of hope and a message of redemption, and also I'm hoping that it inspires more people to to support theater, to support people of color stories, to do more theatrical projects, to do more theatrical projects about specific cultures, to write more musicals, to compose more plays, do poetry, sculpt, paint, all the arts, all the creative arts are so important to our spirit and our soul. We're nothing without them. I'm sorry, we're just nothing without the expression of our own human experience and the creativity it takes to inspire other people. And we also need the audiences. The audience, we can't no we would all be we would without audiences, we'd all be a bunch of crazies in a dark room, like just talking to each other. So it's important for audiences to continue to support whatever in whatever phase of development these pieces are.
I know this is like asking who's your favorite child, but in this musical, is there a part of the musical, a song that is your favorite part and you're hoping people will get something really special out of it?
Yes, there is. I mean, I think when we were in rehearsals early on and having meetings, there's this one sequence that so Andy is living in a very white community in Flagstaff, Arizona. He has his father's watch. I'm giving away plot points. He has his father's watch, who he knows very little about, and his mother won't tell him. But he finds a letter that's addressed in South El Monte, the return address in South El Monte. So he makes a decision to go down to South El Monte. And I feel like that's sort of like the first beginning of his journey. The first match is lit. And Asdru Sierra, the composer, wrote this really wonderful song called My Whole Life. And it's like, I think it's like the first step that Andy takes on his own as a young person to investigate these mysterious things that he doesn't know about. And I've set him up on sort of this version of the Hogwarts Express. And Tiffany, our projection designer, has the projection moving, behind him. He's leaving Flagstaff, and it's just a beautiful, simple moment. Our character Andy is sitting on a train, and he's singing, "My whole life's been waiting for this. My whole life's been dreaming of this. For my 18th birthday wish, we couldn't ask for more." It's a beautiful, beautiful moment, and it's just getting him from his familiar place to an unfamiliar place. It's almost as though, like, the tornado in The Wizard of Oz, bringing him to a different community. And it's nothing fancy. It's just him on a train, the beginning of this experience and this journey that he's taking. It's just the simplicity of. I think I like the simplicity of it. We've all been on a journey somewhere. You get on a plane, you get on a train, you get in your car, and you don't know what the other end is going to be like. And it's a journey of discovery, and it's all the things. It's frightening, it's exciting, it's illuminating, it's hilarious, it's tragic. It's all the things that we've all done it. We all should do it more often.
Very important question. Why must the theater community and beyond go to this unique musical now?
Yes, yes. Well, like I said before, it's an expression. It's a dignified expression of Latino life in the United States. That's when people would ask me about In the Heights. I'm so proud of Lin-Manuel Miranda's creation of that show, and he and the writer Chiara Alegria Hudes, they made a decision that we weren't going to include all that other stuff that you see in film and TV, all the negative stereotypes. So this is an extension of that same idea, not wanting to focus on negative stereotypes of the Latin culture, and how we can show that we're just people who have the American dream, who want to raise their families and love each other and love our neighbors and love our friends, and keep our traditions not just to ourselves, but like within ourselves, but also share them. Like I said before, it's fascinating to learn about other cultures. I feel very sorry for people that are not interested in other cultures, who can't learn about them, appreciate them, honor them, and just recognize the representation. Because that's one of the beautiful things about the United States, is the multiculturalism that we have. Everybody loves Mexican food. Everybody loves black music. Everybody loves, country music, which like is derived kind of from Ireland and from the UK. That type of music. So America is this gigantic melting pot. Why wouldn't we embrace all the beautiful, stripes on our flag, all the stars on our flag? We've all got something to contribute to this, and I will wholeheartedly support any theater piece that tells a distinguished story about our Latin culture or about any person of color. They're a very misunderstood, underrepresented, and sometimes reviled slice of life in the United States. It's unfortunate that in this day and age there's so much representation, and yet there's still so much ignorance. So theater is one way we can all sit in a dark room for a couple of hours, and hopefully by the end of it, you've come out, what I like to say, edutained, educated and entertained. That's the best kind of media I think you can absorb and that you can be a part of and support, is edutainment. It's educating you and it's entertaining you.
What would you like to say to the original group of South El Monte High School drama students and alumni who first thought of this musical concept, which is now a live production? What would you want to say to them?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you. I'd like to say thank you to Chip Healy, the educator who was inspired by Lin-Manuel Miranda's In the Heights, and challenged his students to create something along that vein. That there again, Lin was just this musical theater nerd, Puerto Rican growing up in New York and um, going to Wesleyan University. He was challenged by his teacher to write a short musical. He's like, "What do I write about?" And the teacher said, "Write about what you know." So he wrote a nearby neighborhood of Washington Heights. It was colorful. There were all these characters and music and food. And so he wrote a few songs and everybody said, "There's something here. You need to develop this further. It's got what I call bones. It's got bones of something." So and then it ended up being on a Broadway stage. And then he ended up writing Hamilton 8 years later. So there are moments in your youth where you can be inspired by teachers, by other creatives and artists to create something yourself. So thank you to those students for bringing these characters to life on a page, showing us what your community is about, showing us the obstacles and the challenges and the sorrows and the successes of what is possible being a person of color in the Los Angeles area, in California, in the United States. Um, they they gave us a great gift. These characters are universal, and they're people that your friends, your family, your coworkers, and I for one appreciate that what they brought from their imaginations onto a page is now coming to life on a stage that is just, a few miles north of where they first started this journey. And hopefully it's just the first page of a really long journey that takes this theater piece to a larger level, to a more to a wider audience and to a larger national spotlight. There's a very sad lack of Latino representation on stages. I mean, we had West Side Story. Okay, great, that's gangs, and we had and what I mean, there's very little else to. We had In the Heights, which I feel like is a distinguished representation of Latin culture. But there's not a whole heck of a lot in our canon of Latin works for the public to enjoy and embrace and understand.
Is there anything else you need to or you want to mention about this production that we haven't covered?
Well, so we open Friday, October 4th at the Sierra Madre Playhouse. We have 3 performances a weekend. It's running for 5 weekends until November 3rd, I believe. So it's Friday night at 8, Saturday night at 8, Sunday at 4. I would recommend that you get your tickets because you may not be able to get tickets the last couple of weekends. Word of mouth usually works in this town. And, by the last weekend, it very well could be sold out. And I don't want you to miss it. What I would say is, too, I want to repeat what I said before, echo that if you're a parent and your child has artistic abilities, do your best to support them. They may be the next Lin-Manuel Miranda. They may be the next Andrew Lloyd Webber. They may be the next Rachel Chavkin, the director of Hadestown. There's so many opportunities. We just have to sort of create them, for people to express themselves and for everybody wants a successful show. Everybody, whether it's Netflix or whether it's on Broadway, they want things to be a success. So I just would encourage all of you to support your kids in the arts. It's an important thing. We need to build the next generation of creative artists, not just YouTubers and not just TikTokers. That needs to roll over into the wonderful art of theater, which is thousands of years old. We're not doing anything new. This is what the Greeks did. It was a slab of cement, and they wore masks, and the audiences clapped or cried or laughed. So we're here to carry on wonderful and honored tradition of storytelling on a stage live for people. Hi, this is Benjamin Perez. I'm the director of a new musical at the Sierra Madre Playhouse called Pasaje, Pasaje. Pasaje. It means pathway in Spanish. It will be playing at the Sierra Madre Playhouse October 4th to November 3rd, weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Please come and support local theater. It's a wonderful story about a young biracial boy discovering his past, family secrets, and the road to his future.